Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 713th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Chris Brisson. He is the founder of Sales Message. He's been in the tech space since almost as long as me. We get into a story going back to 2010. Was using Infusionsoft as a customer and a reseller partner almost as long as me as well, like 2009 timeframe. So we get into what is working today, what kind of messaging works, what kind of technology, what is the role of email and SMS and AI and direct mail in growing a business today. We get into how he is growing today. What is he looking at? How is he testing things? How is he experimenting? How does he roll out new stuff, new offers? And because it's tough in business, you know, the old adage is you must dig your well before you're thirsty. Right. But it's also you need to dance with who brung you. OK, if the well is producing, keep going to that well. But you need to iterate. You need to be looking over the horizon, understanding your threats, your strengths, figuring out how to pivot before you need to, right? Before you're forced to, before it's too late. So we get into, again, his story, how he started, how he failed, how he overcame failure, what that taught him, how that keeps him going, how it keeps him from failing, maybe as not quite as often, but there's still failure, right? When you're testing things, when you're trying new things, you're always going to make mistakes. You can't be afraid of that. So we get into how he handles that and grows. Then he flipped the script on me, started asking me questions on my own podcast. What the heck? So you're in for a treat. I've known Chris for many, many years, but this was the first time we've actually spoken. So it was good to do that. And then as soon as we ended the call, I booked him to demo his platform on the CRM Sushi podcast. So that'll be within a week or so. I scheduled it a week from now when I interviewed him. So as long as if you're catching this episode more than a week after I publish it, then scroll over to the CRM Sushi podcast and look for that demo of Sales Message, and you can see under the hood how that platform works. Okay, I'm revamping my inner circle. Been spending a lot of time on that, so avail yourself of that. You can join weekly, you can join quarterly, you can join annually, but invest in yourself and get some outside help, which we also talk about on this episode. All right. Now let's get on with the show. Mr. Chris Brisson with the pretty blue teeth, all the way from Florida. Founder, CEO of Sales Message, SMS expert. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
I'm good, Wes. It's good to reconnect, and thanks for having me on the pod. I'm looking forward to it.
So they'll have to look into the bloopers, if I had any bloopers, but on the blue teeth. But hey, we all have our beauty secrets, right? We don't want to let everybody know. I mean, you and I are lucky, right? We're kind of just naturally just over the top sexiness, but I mean, we still got to do a little bit here and there, right?
Something like that.
A little bit of grooming. So, man, yeah, we've been connected for a long time. First time chatting. Why SMS? Is SMS still alive? Because I got an SMS this morning. Hi, Wes, your resume is very intriguing. This is why I'm sending you this message. And we have daily deals and blah, blah, blah. And you can make $1,200 and hit me up on WhatsApp. Report junk.
Yeah.
Bro, is it out of control? Is SMS dead? Because I'm told everything's dead. Email's dead. Cold calling is dead. Direct mail's dead. Facebook ads are dead. Is SMS dead?
You can tell that to your competitors. That's for sure. But it's certainly not. It's funny because, I've been in messaging since like 2010. So company maybe you're familiar with being in the Infusionsoft world of Call Loop, right? We've had Call Loop forever. Yeah. Sales Message is sort of the new company we started back in 2017, 2018. And so, a lot of the strategies have not changed. It's just the industry as a whole shifted towards messaging. And so a friend of mine, Trevor Mock, he runs a company called thecarrot.com. He spoke at an event and he's like, hey, I want to capture leads from stage. I'm like, cool, we'll go ahead and use a text to join keyword, right? This is a very old strategy. And, he was the only speaker that did that. Everyone else was using a QR code to their landing page and they weren't really capturing any leads. And so Trevor just did a basic strategy, text to join. He put it into an AI agent that we have with Sales Message, which will have a conversational text It's capturing a name, an email, right, and some other information. And he built his SMS list, but he built his email list and he captured some other data. And there's about 150 people in the room, and you end up getting over 100 leads, right? And so you go, well, that strategy has been around forever. And so what made the difference? Like what changed? I think people get away from just tried and true method, tried and true strategy. They're looking for something new. And so, text messaging is ubiquitous. Everyone has it. Everybody can do it. And, in your case, like I get those texts all the time. My name is not Alice. I get those. I get the recruiting ones. I get all of them, right? And so, but what SMS has been able to do over the last, forever is people still use it as that personal connection tool. So if you're going to get in touch with somebody, right, you're going to first capture their email. Maybe you're going to get their cell phone. Maybe you're going to get their phone. And so you have calling, emailing, and SMS. That's pretty much it. Now, granted, maybe you reach them on Facebook or, WhatsApp, but I don't even know if you're going to really WhatsApp somebody. And so those are really the channels. And so email is not as effective, right? Still works, right? But, open rates and everything go down unless you're building a good newsletter. And so SMS has been cleaned up for the most part. What you're getting is all these spammers trying to game the system, but the system is getting smart. And so over time, all of that will get weeded out. And now you're left with this super clean communication pipe. And that's why, there's a lot of stuff and talk around SMS compliance, and now you got to get approved for it. But back in the day, anybody could get a phone number, anybody could send a text message, and those days are gone. And so, which has actually been a good thing for the industry, because now the businesses that do get approved that send text messages, those messages are being delivered. They're not being filtered as they were before. So there's this clean sort of one lane highway that's wide open for legitimate businesses to connect over SMS.
So you said, did you start this in 2010? Like, when did you formally, officially start the company?
Yeah. So started a company called Call Loop. That's been around since 2010. Started that in 2010. Around 2015, was a different beast. And so I won't get into the whole history of it, but it's a good story. Anyhow, built it up. It was breaking a lot. It was a tech company, had a lot of technical debt. And so, but it was still functioning. And so went down a path of reinventing it. And so through this, Sales Message was born. So Call Loop was really focused on your outbound text message, your one-way texting tool, which is great for SMS marketing, notifications, things like that. But what I realized is people really wanted a conversational tool. And I just saw the future of it's going to be around conversations. It's going to be around the engagement side. And so Sales Message, we started it. Actually, I just did a webinar in the end of 2016. I ended up selling this idea of what Sales Message could become. And that sort of kickstarted that. 2017, we were building it. Really, 2018 was the year that we launched it. And so, so that was it. And that was the idea, was it's just a conversational texting tool. Today it's transformed. It's, a two-way texting platform, SMS marketing. We've got ringless voicemail. It's a full-fledged calling platform. There's power dialer. So there's all like the features and functionality that you need in one platform versus getting 3 or 4 other tools that, you sort of got to patch together, if you will.
Yeah. I need to have you back on the CRM Sushi podcast and do a demo of the platform, because I have tech founders just, open the hood and go through it. So it's safe to say you've been at this for a minute. What if somebody's looking to start something today? I mean, obviously AI is all the rage. I'm telling people, if they're old enough to remember, or if they've read a history book, like right now feels kind of like 1998 when the internet was popping. The dot-com bubble was hadn't burst, but the future, was looking so great. Everything's going to be online, and we're just going to have flying cars in 20 years. And, the internet it'll send you food and open your mouth and chew it for you. And I mean, everything was a web app. Then obviously there was a little bit of a bubble, a little bit of a burst, a little bit of pain. People don't realize it took like 13 or 15 years, I forget, like for the NASDAQ to recover
Mm-hmm.
from its high, right? Like, I mean, over a decade. I know that. I think it was 13 years at least. So, I mean, does this feel like a bubble right now, from tech? Like, are they just doing tech for tech's sake? Like what's working now, and how are you leveraging AI, to beef up your current tools, or are you pivoting and going to add
Yeah.
any ancillary things or
Yeah. Yeah.
other tools?
I'm like heavy in AI right now. Just one, me personally, I wanna FAFO. So if like F around and find out, I'm trying stuff. So I'm playing with Lovable, I'm playing with Replit. I'm building these apps that, I'm very technical, but I'm not a developer. And so we've got a big development team, but oh, there's Chris's idea. Hey, we're full. We got tons of stuff. And so for me to iterate and just like figure out these ideas that I want to push forward, Lovable and Replit have been amazing. So I built a tool. It's called click to text, or sorry, yeah, click to text.co. And what this does is, it's actually a tool we're going to build inside a sales message, which, if you're doing any social media and you're doing reels and stories, how you can swipe up and like go to a landing page. So this tool will enable you to convert your social media viewers from a click to building your SMS list, right? So you can swipe up and it'll open up SMS, put in the phone number, put in the body, and then bam, instantly start a conversation over SMS. So yes, it's in our backlog to build, but it just gets deprioritized of other important things. So I'm like, let me just go and build this. And literally in a couple hours, I built this tool. I'm like, guys, this is what we want to build. And so, that I built some other tools on Lovable, and just I'm playing around with that. And so I've been able to like prototype just quick little products using AI tools. So that becomes like inspiration for our team. So, we're using Green for call recording, feeding that into Copy AI. We're doing some really cool stuff just to elevate. I heard about a really cool tool yesterday around Message GPT and Chat GPT, where you can feed it through HubSpot and it will craft an email based on all the data that comes in from your CRM. So I'm like, oh boy, that's really cool. So if you could feed a grain transcription into ChatGPT, it could craft a follow-up email based on that call that you just had. Right. And so you go, oh my gosh, well, what's that future look like? You don't even need to write emails anymore. You could literally prompt it, have this whole engine that is, talking in your voice the way that you're responding. And now you can have all these emails responding as you, but perfectly curated based on that last conversation and all the data that you have. So there's so much cool stuff that I'm like diving into those things and just trying them out and realizing, whoa, we can use that here. And we built this really cool AI agent. So like we do texting, right? We do calling, we do texting. And so one of the challenges business owners have is, look, if you're driving leads, well, how do you drive those leads to a meeting or to a booking or to an appointment? And so, I call it sort of this messy middle. You go from lead to all the stuff you need to do to get a meeting booked, right? That could be an outbound phone call. That could be multiple follow-up calls. It could be, a manual text message. That could be emails, right? And so, you have teams built to solve that problem, SDRs. So now we live in a world where literally you can say, hey, give me a lead. We'll put it through our SMS AI agent, where the goal is just to book a meeting, and using natural language and real human delay in Wes's voice, it will capture an email, a name, square footage, whatever custom information you want, with the goal of one, qualifying, and then booking a meeting. And so, hey, just give us leads, put it through an AI texting agent, we'll book a meeting. And so that's sort of this future is, texting as a quick way to engage, which is passive for the customer, passive for the consumer. And now you live in a world where that's possible. So, we're doing some really cool sort of cutting edge AI stuff, but that's sort of where we're heading with things. Again, I just see this world of a lot's going to be driven by real time, real data AI conversations.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exciting or terrifying.
I know. I know. I know.
I mean, my inbox is already flooded. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
turning off notifications, it's like, I feel like the zig to the zag now is who can be the most human, but of course, how does that scale? So, I mean, how do you properly use technology? I've been using Infusionsoft since 2008, and I was using another tool, a local tool somebody had made in '07. I was sending broadcast emails and mail merges and, making it look personalized, and you could always see the unsubscribe at the bottom. So, it's not a personal email, but it would bubble up. And then I could have a one-on-one conversation with a prospect. You know, I tell people all the time, it feels like it was a long time ago. Do you know John Jonas, the VA
Yeah. Oh
guy?
yeah. Yeah. He was the Philippines, like
Yeah.
hiring. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I think he created the online
Online
jobs.ph or
jobs at
something like that.
PH. Yep. Yeah. I've hired a couple folks to that.
Yeah, I mean, I have too. I mean, I always remember I moved into this house in early 2011. And so I'd already heard of John before that. So at least 2010, 2009, I mean, somewhere in there. So
Mm-hmm.
he's been at it a long time. And so I remember, oh yeah, get a VA. And I've had VAs ever since. And, but it felt like, you know, everybody started getting VAs. So then my VA would respond to an email or send an email or a message or outreach. And then your VA would read it and deny it, or delete it. So it felt like the gold rush. The only people that made money were the guys selling the picks and the shovels.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's like your AI is going to text me. Now my AI is going to ignore it or delete it or file it away. Or do we just end up go back to humanity, go back to live events again?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I heard something the other day, following a lot of these YouTube channels. And so the one guy, he's the CEO of a company called Lindy AI. And he was doing a video about how he's using Lindy AI to like do stuff for him, right? It's an AI agent platform. I haven't used it yet, but I'm like, oh man, I gotta check this out. So he was like, hey, go ahead and book a dinner for my wife and I at this restaurant. So Lindy AI goes out, calls, and guess what? On the other end is an AI agent that is talking to the other agent. So his
Yep.
agent is talking to the call agent that is booking this meeting. And you go, and this guy is in San Francisco. So you imagine, okay, in San Francisco, all these companies are leading with a lot of this tech. So he goes, is that the future of restaurants? To where you're never even talking to somebody, you're talking to an AI agent. And now you have your agents, Wes, that are talking to all these other agents. So what's left?
Yeah.
What's left?
Well, I know. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
the dumbing down of society. People can't talk, they can't hold a conversation, can't communicate, no charisma. And I use apps all the time, to order my food. Like, I don't want to wait in line. I don't want to explain things. I don't want to wait for them to count the change, So it's like, and they get it wrong. So at least I've got the printed receipt and I'm done. So, I mean, there's pros and cons.
Yeah. It's weird because today is the worst it's going to be,
Yeah.
right? Tomorrow and next future and 4 years and 5 years. So it is a very weird world that we're growing up in, and like, what does this future look like? So, I think for business owners, is this a scary moment or is this an opportunity moment? And so it's like, where's the opportunity at? And so, I think the future is in that. So, I had breakfast with a guy the other day around, he's buying businesses, and all these boomer businesses are, they're getting older, they want to retire. And so, they haven't added any sort of technology to these very profitable businesses. They're
Yeah.
not going to pass it down on the legacy because they don't have any kids to pass it down to, or the kids don't want the business, but they're left with these profitable businesses that they don't want to run anymore. They want to retire. They want, just give me a payment, give me an annuity so I can live my retirement in peace. And so he is finding these businesses to where, there's, you know, a stable income, and then layering in technology to continue to grow the company. And he's acquiring these businesses and laying in tech. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think there's something there
Yeah.
for those that are willing to go deep to sort of take these legacy businesses and up level them through technology.
Well, I love the concept, and like my whole career, in this space. So going back 17 years, it's unbelievable. I just turned 55, man. I'm a senior citizen. I get half price
Not
at
yet.
Denny's now. I'm like I am so there for Denny's. I get half price grits. Bring me grits, babe. Just bring me a big bowl. Bring me a bucket of grits. But
There you
anyway,
go.
I digress. When I found Infusionsoft, it was through Dan Kennedy. He was doing this 4-city tour. He was a master affiliate or whatever for them, and I went to meet him because they were at Anaheim, so I could drive over, and it was easy. And I saw Infusionsoft. I'm like, oh man, this is some powerful stuff. I was already using like a rudimentary tool that some local people that I know had created, so I was starting to see kind of that power. So I jumped in, and they had kind of a loophole for partners back then that I found, and I've leveraged that now for 17 years. But not being a technologist, right? I just used the tool as it was. I wasn't programming stuff. I didn't know what an API was, and I just used it out of the box. And then that's who I catered to, right? Entrepreneurs, other salespeople that were not developers that just had to get better at sales. And so I always say, like, I'm the guy, I can get you from 0 to 5, you know, whereas like what I know of you can get people from like 7 to 9.9, right? Maybe 8 to 9.9. Like so it's like, I love that concept. I love hitting somebody up and seeing like a 18-year-old WordPress blog, the old theme.
Mhm.
I forget the name. You might remember the name. There was one that's like executive kind of theme that everybody was using back in the WordPress days. Like
Right,
again, before
Optimized
I'm
Press.
what's that?
Optimized Press. That was back in
Yeah.
the day.
Oh, yes, optimized press.
Yeah.
I forget, but everybody had this one template, and so as soon as you saw it, you knew it was WordPress. But
Mm.
it's like I love seeing those low tech guys, and even them. I'm not going to take them into fully automation, right? It's
Yeah.
like let's get a contact us in there. Let's get maybe a little shopping cart, or sends the receipt automatically, sends a task to give them a call. Rudimentary, and they're just like it's like bringing fire to cavemen, man. Like
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, what's funny is like, so I come from the Infusionsoft world. And so I think I got my Todd Brown, Rich Sheffrin. I was like, oh, I got to get Infusionsoft. So I think it was probably 2009, maybe 2010 when I got it. And so,
Oh,
I
wow,
just
yeah,
went super deep. This is like their original version.
yeah.
And then,
It
they
was
started to
rough,
upload it. That was rough, but all these
but it was
action
automated.
sets.
Once you built it, I got one sequence still running, dude, from
Yeah.
'08.
Yep. Yep. And that's the thing is once you build out like these modules and these systems in the business, it's really potent. So, when I was learning Infusionsoft, I was building these super complex campaigns and if thens and
Yeah,
click that and net tag and all that.
yeah,
Um, so funny enough, so I won Infusionsoft Market of the Year in 2013 for online sales. And so we had built these, when I say we, it was really me, but when I built these systems, right, inside of Call Loop. So we had an automated webinar campaign. We had a live webinar campaign. We had a Zappos campaign, which was like handwritten, letters. I built a GoDaddy one, which was upsells, one-click upsells, right? This is like all this tech. You had to engineer this stuff. There wasn't like a ClickFunnels or anything like that. So I built these campaigns and won Fusionsoft Market of the Year, and so added some credibility. I was like, hey, let me go ahead and build these for people. And so I started to build these campaigns, these webinar campaigns specifically, which are super dialed in. And for somebody that understood Infusionsoft, it was nice. Someone that did not, it was completely overwhelming. And then you became a
yes.
man in the machine. And so I remember I built this webinar campaign for a friend of mine I went to high school with, and he was doing webinars just on Zoom. And I was like, man, you should build this automated, it does this and does all that and does all these things. And after I built it, I showed it to him. He's like, I don't know how this thing works. He's like, could you just give me my money back? And I was like, oh my gosh. And so like right then I was like, whoa, yeah, I'm building these like really complex things, but man, what if you just kept it super simple? like, does it really matter that it gets so optimized that, maybe you get a couple iterations here and there, and then you're the one that's sort of managing all of that, right? Like, to your point, like, maybe they just need a contact form. Hey, maybe you just need 5 email sequence. Maybe you just need the basics of it. And so, like, I remember that moment where I just kept it simple. I was like, I'm not going to keep things complicated. I'm just going to make them really simple so I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to manage it. Now, granted, there are some campaigns that are really dialed in. There's a lot of different stuff, but in my experience, it's always been the easiest campaigns were the best versus these super complicated ones that 90% of it was useless, but 10% of it
Yeah.
was the gold.
Yeah.
It was beyond an 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Amazon needs to know if you clicked on the left edge of the buy now button or the right edge of the buy later, or what, light orange,
Sidebar.
dark orange, border, hover. Okay. Yeah. You and I don't. I mean, people all the time. Well, does it do A/B email split testing? I'm like, that's a great question. Are you a big email sender? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say big. Do you have a newsletter? Well, kind of. When was the last time you emailed your list? Well, I'm like, bro, it's like Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
He says, okay, this is great. What are your numbers? And people start dancing. He says, when I ask what your numbers are, if the first word out of your mouth is not a number, then we have a problem. Right. So these people, well, like, why don't you send one email a week consistently for 12 weeks? How about that? Then we'll look into A/B split testing.
Yeah. Yeah.
People get all worked up because they see Frank Kern or Mr. Wonderful, doing this. I want what they have. It's like, man, no, just start,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, I wore this shirt yesterday and it says like discipline over motivation. And
Yeah.
there's another one, my friend, it's consistency over intensity. And it's like, man, there is so much weight you put on like not doing something because it's not perfect. And like that perfectionism, I've been there
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, it's got to do this and it's got to do this. And, all these rules, right? You've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. So like we know what great looks like.
Yeah.
And great has to look like this and all these bullet points and this and this. And this is what great is. The problem is, well, it has to have all that in order for it to like go. When in reality is like that beginner mindset is really the best thing is like, just go, figure it out, try some stuff,
Yes.
fail. You don't need all of that. Maybe you add that stuff later, but split testing is super advanced, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's like all these barriers we put in front of ourselves that they're just nonsense. Really what it is we're just scared. We're just afraid, and we want security and certainty. But, I think if there's one thing to learn in, just entrepreneurship and building your business is you're going to mess up. So who cares? Find out quick. But man,
Yeah.
I've been in that hole of perfectionism and it'll hold you back from just taking any sort of action.
Yeah, everybody's quick to, quote, "Oh, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take," but then they feel bad because they missed a shot. It's like, well, take another one.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Next, but it's literally, we were talking before we started, right? A little cauliflower ear, a little jujitsu and wrestling, and it's like my instructor, he's done this for about 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he has lost more tournaments than I've competed in. He was number one in the world in 2017 for his age and, weight division. So he's lost, but like when you walk into the studio and you see this wall, like this big wall, literally 100% covered in plaques of everything that he won. It's like, yeah, okay, this guy's kind of good, So it's like, but nobody wants to put in that amount of time. I mean, it's grueling. I train 5 and 6 days a week, 90 minutes a piece and, same warm-ups. I'm like, oh my gosh, more jogging, more jumping jacks, more push-ups. I mean, hundreds of sit-ups, ab work. Really? Like, yeah. And every time, like I've never beaten my instructor. And dude, I've got 70 pounds on him. So it's
That's
like,
technique, right?
so it's
Like
like,
that's not brute. That's
yeah. common, like, typical, not street smarts, right? Or common knowledge would say, oh yeah, the dude with 70 pounds is going to win. It's like, maybe if we were punching, maybe I could have beaten him, maybe, but like back in the day, I couldn't.
Yeah.
After 8 years, yeah, I know enough. If we were truly fighting, I might win. But he is so explosive, so technical. It's like I've passed his guard twice ever in 8 years. So I mean, he's so good, right? But every time he has beaten me, it's with just nothing special. Just no inverted spinning, crazy things, just fundamentals. He's just that much better at the
Yeah.
fundamentals,
Yeah.
you know,
What do
and
you
it's
think? Like, what do you think? I mean, knowing what you know now, like, what are the fundamentals that you think business owners need to get right? Like, what are those three things that, man, here's the three things that if you just figured that out, that's that's a critical key.
listen, listen, I am the sales whisperer, and this is the sales podcast. I ask the questions, okay? Like, don't be flipping this around. Is this like some Jedi mind trick? What are you doing to me, man?
You've got some wisdom.
Yeah, three things. Well, I mean, we kind of touched on it, right? Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, that's so true. Iterate, right? Take fast action, be bold, move fast, break things, right? Isn't that the Facebook motto? People are so afraid to try things, but I'm working on a book. I've got 5 daughters, and like, dudes don't talk to girls anymore.
Wow. Really?
I mean, these girls, they don't get asked to prom. They don't get asked they go with other girls. My older daughters, they go line dancing, these country bars, and they line dance because nobody will ask them to dance, and I'd understand if they were trolls, but I mean, they're like in shape, fit, funny, cute, blue eyes, like, so, get some game. I mean, all this stuff, the old adages are still true, right? We must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect.
Mm-hmm.
We forget, like, with all this AI and computer screens and everything, there's a human being with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, with hopes and dreams and aspirations. And are you touching on those? Yes, AI is fine, but it's like, do you know the questions to ask? I'm using this one tool for email that Ben Settle and Troy Broussard made.
Yeah.
You know,
I know Troy. Yeah. Troy,
yeah,
man. It's been a while. He had a great book years ago on the Infusionsoft stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, they built their Berserker Mail and their Learnistic mobile app.
Cool.
Uh, so they have office hours, right? So yesterday I was on with their tech guy, and like, I'm using Chat GPT and these other things, but I mean, very rudimentary. And I know that it can do code, right? It can do HTML, it can do CSS, but I don't know that stuff very well. I mean, I can look it up. I can make a few, I can center something, I can bold something, make it strong. So there's my HTML knowledge, right? Little brackets, little slash. But I was trying to embed their form, and I didn't realize, like, he pushed it down and you had to open with style, right? And then and he threw that into, oh, I was just embedding the HTML and thought I could go in and center it and whatever. But no, you need the CSS style. But which gets to, and I know this code is getting so smart, it'll start to anticipate all of that. But I didn't know the right prompts. So I had this powerful tool, but I didn't know the prompts. So, which gets back to, we must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. Like, what are they thinking? How are you going to connect with them? And yeah, I mean, technology will get there. I mean, we've all seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. You're a droid? I had no idea. I mean, we'll get there, but I still think it's a ways off. And so, who can be the most human right now, I think, still wins for a long
I
time.
agree. I agree. I still write handwritten cards, right?
Yeah.
So you'll probably get one. And phenomenal book I started reading. It must be over here, but it is John Rulin and it's called Beyond Giftology. So
Mm,
John wrote a book called Giftology. Unfortunately, last year he passed away
mm,
suddenly. So, but John was like the top Cutco salesman in the world.
mm.
And I met him once or twice, and really, really beautiful soul. And so his whole concept was around gifting. And so being, the number one Cutco salesman in the world, he just went out of his way and just provided so many unique experiences and gifts. And so I'm reading his book, which his wife and some friends sort of finished the book, and now it's been published. Really, really great
Yeah,
book.
this
And
says it
so,
just came out last month, like less than
yeah,
a month ago.
exactly. Yeah. So
Wow.
I was reading it this morning, highlighting it, and it just goes back to like the power of relationships and being able to connect with people, right? Because at the end of the day, everything you're doing is there's a human on the other side. You go through your list and you see all these names, Susie and Mark and Bob and Jerry, like, oh, they're all real people. You pick up the phone and you can talk to them. And so being able to appreciate your gratitude, and talk to them. Some of the best conversations I had around like product development and features is literally just talking to our customers. And they'll say something that they may not think is an important thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, talk about that. And that has unlocked so much amazing opportunity of just things that in passing they mention. But for us is, whoa, this is a whole new opportunity, is a whole new feature. And so in the book, he talks about just handwritten cards. And a couple of years ago, I was at an event in Colorado, and this was with the former CEO of Home Depot. And so this guy, Cal Newport, he's interviewing the CEO, and he is saying, hey, why do you write handwritten cards? And he's like, I write them because I am building an army of people rooting for me. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's really cool. And so when you can connect with people on a different level and really just showing appreciation, you're not doing it, manipulatively or thinking I'm going to build this secret army. But at the end of the day, like, people want people that they know, like, and trust. And so how do you get closer to that? And so it all just goes back down to relationships. And so, I still write handwritten cards, and some of the most impactful relationships have just started with that, and then have
Mhm.
spawned into so much more. Could you have AI do that? Maybe, but you know,
Yeah.
it certainly does feel good.
Well, do you ever watch Mad Men?
I have not. No, I should. I mean, it's like a copywriter's dream.
Oh, dude, it was so good. But there's an early episode, it may even be the first, but it was an early one. So it's set in whatever, I guess the 50s, if I remember right, 50s into the 60s. So everybody's smoking, and so they have a tobacco client, you know, and Don Draper is he's at a loss, right? Because like the government had just started coming out with regulations, you got to put warnings on it, blah, blah, blah. So everybody's worried, and they're about to leave. And he's like, wait, 1 minute, blah, blah, blah. So he starts just kind of riffing. And it's a great scene. You got to look up the It's Roasted. Just look up that scene. It's worth it. And so it's the old, talking about like handing down the business, right? So it's this old Southern fella with he's got his sons with him, and he's like, "How do you make your tobacco?" And the son's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then the dad's like, "Well, shame on you," and they're all smoking. He says, "Well, we grow it in the South Carolina soil in the sun, and we harvest it. We hang it to dry, we roast it." And he keeps going. And Don Draper's got a chalkboard, right? And he's like, "It's roasted." And they're like, "Well, what the hell? Everybody roasts their tobacco. Everybody knows you roast your tobacco." He says, "Yeah, but you're the first one to say it.
Right.
Now everybody else is basically a copycat." And the old guy's like, you know, I like where this is going, So, because yeah, it's just in passing, we're too close to our own stuff. We need sometimes like that third party, that neutral eyes to go, it's the curse of knowledge, right? We're so close to this. Oh, everybody knows that. No, they don't.
Hmm. Yeah.
They don't know these if then statements, decision diamonds, right? In Infusionsoft. And like, I can anticipate that about, like, I had no idea.
Hmm. Yeah.
Surround yourself, because people ask me, well, we're thinking of hiring a sales consultant, a marketing consultant. And, how much experience do you have with alpaca grooming? Because, we're the best alpaca groomers, anywhere west of the Mississippi. And we need an alpaca expert. No, you don't. Sometimes somebody's lack of experience is just the thing you need, right? Because you hire that guru and they can short circuit some things for you, get streamline things, but they may be a cookie cutter,
Yeah.
and they've done it for 20 of your other competitors. All right, let them improve some things, but then bring a freak in. You know, like I can't even spell alpaca. What the hell do y'all do? Why do you do it that way? Who's the target market? What, and ask some questions like never even thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all in the questions that you ask,
Yeah. I
right?
remember, so Infusionsoft had that perfect customer life cycle. And I was like, ah,
Perfect customer life
that
cycle.
makes a lot of
I
sense,
still
right?
got some of those.
Yeah. And so that's every business, right? Every business needs traffic. You need leads. You need to qualify the leads. You need to convert the leads. You need to get referrals and, and feedback and that whole thing. So we actually took that and we built a framework that we call Textize. And so to textize your business. And so, it starts with philosophy, methodology, and technology. We haven't done a good job evangelizing this, but soon enough that we will. So the idea with it is, the philosophy is a belief. So if you read any Simon Sinek, he has the book Start with Why, right? The best companies in the world are why companies, not what companies. And so the why, that's for us is, we believe conversations are good for business. And so it just so happens that messaging and texting is the best way to create those conversations, start those conversations. And so the way we help businesses create more conversations is through a framework and a methodology called Textize Your Business. And what that means is you can add texting and messaging across that entire life cycle. So from lead generation to qualification to driving revenue to getting referrals, right? And beyond. And so we've got 4 parts to it. So we call it capture, connect, convert, and care. And so you can use text to, again, generate leads, right? Whether it's text to join, like Trevor, whether it's a web form that you're capturing a phone number and automating SMS to engage in outreach, whether it's, a QR code, whether it's someone calling you and doing missed call automation. And then you put it into a conversation. Hey, let's have a conversation over SMS to get to that goal. Maybe it is to book a meeting or to drive revenue, to do a mass text message, to then get a feedback, right? You've probably received those texts. Hey, how would you rate your experience 1 to 5, right? You put 5, it sends back, awesome. Hey, why don't you leave us a review? Now you can leave a review. And then, hey, now you can turn that person into a referral partner. And now they can share, right? So that whole entire life cycle. And so like we just like to say is like, one tiny text interjected in that whole system can have a massive effect. So we have a lot of customers, this is back the call loop days, but if you're doing a webinar, hey, the biggest problem with a webinar is getting people to show up. Well, with an SMS reminder, you can increase it by 10, 15, 20%. So if you get more people to show up, you have more opportunity, therefore more revenue, more growth, right? So it's just these tiny texts along the way that, can make a big impact. And so that's the way we think about it. And then we've got like the technology, right? So philosophy is the belief, methodology is textized, and then, hey, we've got the tech and the features to implement that, right? To make sure that you can do those things along the path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, man.
I love the methodology. I love the approach. So, yeah, you've been at this a while, so it's cool. It's cool to see you're still in the game.
Never
Um,
quitting, baby. It's the fun
Never
part.
quit. I mean, it is fun, right? Once you have things dialed in and then you're iterating, I like it. Keeps me sharp, and I like digging into this stuff.
It is
That's
fun.
very cool. So where should our listeners go? I mean, your website is salesmessage.com, right?
Yep. Yep.
You want them to just go there?
Salesmessage.com.
Is there like
Yeah.
is there a guide they should download or, tutorials or?
Yeah, we've got a lot of those resources. So we integrate into a lot of tools. So we integrate into Keep, right, formerly Infusionsoft, Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce. So you can integrate messaging into your workflows and automations, right, into all that within your platform. But salesmessage.com, they can check it out, start a trial, kick the tires. One of the big things is you got to get approved in order to send text. So we've got a whole compliance system. So you can walk through that, fill out this form We send that to the carriers. Once you're approved, you're good to go, and then you can start messaging. So
Yeah.
that is that's just the one little barrier,
Yeah.
but yeah, they can check it out over there.
Okay. We will link there, and then I'll get some time with you to demo sales message on the CRM Sushi podcast. And
Love to. Love to.
that's it, man. Well, it's lunchtime for you, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I need more coffee. So we will wrap it up here, Mr. Chris Brisson, right? Not Brisson.
Well, depends who you ask.
They got to get it right. Got to roll it. Cool, man. Thanks for coming to the show. It's great catching up with you. Finally.
Yeah, finally, Wes.
All
Finally.
right, man.
Good
Have a
deal.
great day.
Thanks for having me, man.
Good stuff, huh? I don't know if you've noticed, but lately I am letting AI, funny enough, do the transcription and do my notes, and I put those in after the fact. But rather than take notes as I go, if you watch this, if you watch the video of this versus just the audio, like a couple of times I had to pull my screen over on the left here and write some things down, right? Like discipline over motivation. He had some great writer downers in there. And that's why he's still in the game. That's why he is succeeding and thriving while others are failing and pulling back, huddling, huddle down, buckle down, whatever, he's no sweat, keeps iterating and growing because of that discipline. When you are prepared for the worst, you don't sweat it, right? You can do that pivot while others are hunkering down. So how do you stay disciplined? The Bible tells us, Jesus sent them out in pairs, right? And the old African adage is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So Chris has surrounded himself with good people, and that's why he's gone far. Being in tech for decades, good grief, that's a feat. So, who are you surrounding yourself with? Who keeps you disciplined and holds you accountable? Yeah, there's, like Jocko, right? He's an interesting character, but I know a lot of Navy SEALs, and they all say he's unique even among SEALs. So, hey, if you got the personal motivation to do all this, hey, fine. Start your own podcast, right? Go coach people, teach them how to do that. But otherwise, surround yourself with those that can help you, right? That's what I do in my inner circle. I'm linking to that, obviously, in the show notes, the bottom of the blog. That's my main focus now. So come let me help you grow, okay? Chris didn't do it alone. I haven't done it alone. You need to stop doing it alone. But I hope you appreciated this. Again, check out his sales message. If this is a week or more later after this one has published, check out the demo on the CRM Sushi podcast. And, get you some technology. And, life is full of dichotomies, full of maybe what appears to be conflicts. Because on the one hand, we're talking about, hey, be more human. On the flip side, we're like, use technology, but use technology in such a way that you can reach more people, more qualified people that you can help. So then when you do meet as humans, you can spend more time with them. It's like the doctor using online charts or online intake forms. So when you get to the office, he can just say hello. They don't have to answer rudimentary questions. Everything's taken care of. Now instead of spending 4 minutes with you, they can spend 8 minutes with you. Doesn't sound like much, but who knows what they'll catch by spending double the time with you. So, use tools properly, use the right tool at the right time, the right way, so you can be more human. You're going to hear me beating that drum for a long time till I'm proven wrong. And, I thought I was wrong one time, but I was mistaken. So avail yourself of tools that he's offering, his coaching, his compliance, right? They've gotten the bumps and bruises so you don't have to. So figure out how to meet your prospects where they are, how to sell to them in the ways that they want to be sold to. That's why I have a video podcast, an audio podcast, a written blog, physical books, live calls, recorded calls, to meet you where you are. You want to listen to the podcast? Fine. You want to read it? You want to watch it? You want a mobile app to access all the content at your leisure? I've got that. So much to do, so little time. But it's time for me to get back to adding some content to the inner circle. So, hey, thanks for watching this. I'll go sell something.